Hello and welcome to the coverage of the 2017 Nokian Tyres World Orienteering Championships from Estonia. My name is Catherine Bett and I'll be talking you through all the action from a very technical and tricky middle distance race in the forests of Viitsipalu. Orienteering is the ultimate test of physical, mental and technical skill. Athletes navigate the course using a map where a certain number of controls are marked. They must visit all the controls in the correct order. They also have to decide which routes to take to get around the whole course. There are a few TV controls where we can track their progress, but the athletes are not allowed to look at the map until the moment they start. Distances can range from sprint events at 3 kilometres to long distance events of 18 kilometres. Every control is marked with an orange and white flag, and runners show they've been there by registering with a touch-free electronic chip. The longer events take place in forests and heathlands and are a test of endurance. But for the shorter distances, the athletes head to the towns, where running and navigation speed is key and every second counts. Every athlete is also equipped with a GPS tracker, which enables spectators to watch where they're going out on the course and enables them to see the route choices they've made. As well as individual competitions, there are also relays. The forest relay has a mass start and is run in teams of 3. For all events, the fastest time on the course wins, whether it's a mass start or an individual time trial. The time is measured when all the controls are visited in the correct order and the athlete crosses the finishing line. So we start today with the men's course, and it's going to be a very technical and challenging course. They will head out to the start to this area of Vega Forest. There's lots of contours and they're going to have to keep track of the map to be sure of exactly where they are, as some of this area is quite green. A few shorter controls, and then they head across on this trickier, longer one where they're running to some flat across the road, and then a few controls in this area before we see them at TV split number 1. That's control 10. They will run through the arena and out to the other side into the other half of the forest, where there are some tall pine trees, but the green parts are some shorter deciduous trees when it's really, really difficult to see. They have a few controls in here, passing by some of the marshes over to this slope, and a few controls here close together before we find them again at control 18, where we will get TV split number 2. Again, it's back into this tricky area of complex contours where there are some big shapes and it's easy to get confused. Then they will head to control 22, some short ones in the final part of the course before running into the finish line. So it's going to be a technical race where those who make the fewest mistakes will definitely be the winners. There is some potential for people making big mistakes out on this course. And these are the men making their way to the warm-up area. Skibert as well. Daniel Hubman, the other Swiss athlete. He's had a great World Champs. This is Thierry Georgiou. He has 20 WOC medals so far in his career, and this is going to be his last individual race in World Championship level. He really, really wants to win. He's not been so good in the middle distance recently, but he has got 7 medals, 7 world titles in the middle distance. He is the champion of the middle distance. Even though he didn't have a great World Cup round this year, he was not very happy with his performance. He came 19th in the middle distance and 30th in the sprint qualification. He will want to do a lot better, and he's started well as we catch up with him at split number 1. He is looking ahead of the Swiss Florian Hauvold, and he will take a new fastest time at the 2.4 kilometre mark, only 2 seconds ahead of Hauvold from Switzerland. And running through the arena, this is an athlete who is very popular. He's been running for many years, and he is a firm favourite amongst the fans of orienteering. But back at split number 1, we are waiting for Fabian Hertner from Switzerland. The 32-year-old finished 7th in the long distance. And here he is coming through the forest. This is how green it is out here, just how difficult it is to see what the ground's doing, what the area looks around you. And he will punch the control before the arena, and it's looking pretty good for the runner from Switzerland. He was injured at the World Cup though, and seems to have had a good comeback, as he's got 17 seconds to make it up the hill, through some of these trees, through some of the brashings, to the control at split number 1. He's very close to the time of Thierry Georgiou. And here he comes. He will go 2 seconds down and equal to his teammate Havold. But back in the forest, this is Alexander Kratov of Ukraine. He is coming to the same point. He is a bit further down, I think, at this point as he goes up the hill, which is a lot steeper than this camera angle makes out. He's got 3 seconds to match Georgiou's time, and it will be behind and a bit behind the 2 Swiss runners as well. So he will go into a great 4th place, only 7 seconds behind, and the margins are very tight here as we pick up Georgiou again at the split number 2. He has to punch this control and then run along a ridge to find the next control, control 18 for him on the course. Be running for 24 minutes, nearly 25 minutes at the 4.5 kilometre mark out of the total 6 kilometres that he has to go. And he will just see how easily he manages to navigate all this terrain, and as you see him come to the control, he's already looking ahead as to where he's going, and this is really the key to the middle distance. It's keeping the flow through all the controls, not losing any time anywhere, as we know the seconds count. Into the finish, this is Johan Runesson, ranked number 9th in the world from Sweden. He took an 8th place in the long distance event 2 days ago, and making sure he keeps his balance as he goes around here. It's going to be a new fastest time for him as he goes over the bridge and into the arena to be cheered on by the Swedish flags here. A good result from Runesson, who's only 26. There we go, 33.58, and it's a new fastest time, lead of 32 seconds. But back in the forest to split number 2, this is Fabian Hertner. And he is down on the time of Georgiou. He was only 2 seconds off at our first TV split and has lost a bit of time on the Frenchman here. But he will go into 2nd place, 19 seconds behind. But here at the finish, we're waiting for Georgiou. Can he make it an 8th middle distance title on his final run as an individual at the World Championships level? And it's looking great for the Frenchman. He's got over a minute to make to the line. He's had a very, very clean race, keeping the navigation excellently, and that is what the Frenchman does best. He's an excellent orienteer and really knows how to perform at the highest level. So Thierry Georgiou making his way to the line to set a new fastest time on the course in his final ever individual race, and it is 33.12, 46 seconds ahead of Runesson. What a great result from him, and he knows that's good. He knows that was an excellent run on his final race. He's been preparing all year since last World Championships for this one, but here's someone who could certainly challenge the medals. Alexander Kratov from Ukraine, and he's only 1 second behind Hertner. It's going to be very close. He's got 1.5 kilometers left to run on this race. And here's some of the route choices into control 15. Very, very close with Hertner and Georgiou at this point. Kratov a bit further behind. Hertner was very, very close to Georgiou at this point, but not quite running as fast into control 16, and indeed Hertner nearly overshoots it, and Kratov and Hertner are very, very close together at control 18. So Fabian Hertner, the runner from Switzerland, he will make it to the final control, and currently he's got 15 seconds to make it to the time of Thierry Georgiou, but it's not going to be enough to take the gold medal as Hertner sprints down this hill in the arena, being cheered on by the Swiss cowbells. And he's late on the time of Georgiou, but it's the next one we're looking at. It's Runeson. Is he going to be able to make it into second place? It's looking good from the Swiss runner. He's been able to make it back from injury at the World Cup and pull together a great race. What a good time for him. Even in the last 16 World Championship races, there have only been 2 when he has not been in the top 5. A mark of great consistency, and second place, 25 seconds behind.
And the man to wait for to decide the medal is Alexander Kratov.
Being congratulated by Luca Vasse there. A great run for the Swiss runner. So we are waiting from Alexander Kratov, who's surely going to challenge for the medals, and here he is. It's going to be very close on the time of Hertner. Is he going to get silver, or is it bronze? And it's just too late to run for the silver medal, and he goes across the line 30 seconds down of the time of Georgiou, 33.42, so that puts him into bronze medal position. And there aren't any runners out in the forest, surely, who can challenge the time. He should be very satisfied with his race, and this is how it unfolded. Hertner was taking some of the lead on the first leg, all of them taking very straight routes to the controls. Just shows how expert their orienteering was. At this point, Hertner was in the lead and Georgiou trailing Kratov as well. But there's a little mistake from Hertner there into control 6, and then Kratov and Georgiou go wide. But it was a pretty good route choice for Georgiou, as he was nearly able to catch up on Hertner, and then was very good to controls 6, to controls 9 and 10 through the run through. And it's Hertner still taking a small lead ahead of Georgiou, and Kratov is trailing at this point, but Hertner was very slow into control number 12, and that's really where he lost the time on Georgiou, as the Frenchman takes a decisive lead. And then they will go across the marsh to control 15. Georgiou still ahead, but Hertner very close behind. But Hertner again makes a little mistake into 16 and is now fighting for the silver medal with Kratov. And then there's a few more controls. Georgiou going very straight, very direct, keeping in contact with the map all of the time. A bit more of a wiggly route into 21, but still keeping the speed up all the way around the course, and that was how it finished. So Thierry Georgiou from France, Fabien Hertner from Switzerland, and Alexander Kratov from Ukraine were the guys who were able to take the medals in this middle distance today. An exceptional race for Georgiou. And these were the final results. So we're back in Vitopalu for the women's middle distance competition. They will race on the same area as the men just a bit later today, and this is their course. So from the start they have a shorter number 1, but it's going to be a tricky control, and they'll head to a few of these controls in the dense area of woodland. It's very difficult to see. And then this control number 6 is a bit longer. It's quite tricky to stay on the line, especially through all this green terrain. 7 and 8, and then at control 9, we will see them at the TV split number 1. They will run through the arena, same as the men, and then out into the forest once more, where we see them at control 10. And then a long route to control 11, where they'll have to make some decisions about where they go around all these hills. Some of these hills are quite big. Every contour is 2.5 meters, and they will find them again at control number 17. And then finally there are a few shorter controls into the final control 21 and into the finish. So there is the capacity for some mistakes to be made today, especially as all the forest looks very, very similar. But here is a Norwegian who could certainly do very well. She's got 13 World Championship medals, and at the age of 37 she has a lot of experience to bring to this sport of orienteering. She was 13th in the middle at the World Cup and setting a new fastest time at this point after 2 kilometres of running, 44 seconds in the lead. And that's looking very, very good from Marianne Andersen. She has a silver from the middle distance, but has been out. She's been having an orienteering break from 2011 to 15. So since her comeback has not been able to do as well, but this could be a good run for her. But here is one of the best in the world. In fact, the favourite for today's race. It's Tove Alexandersson from Sweden, and her time is looking excellent. And it's going to be a new fastest time by 1 minute and 38 seconds for Alexandersson. She's already won a gold in the long distance and is the defending champion in the middle, having won gold in Strömstad in 2016. This is someone who is a real proper orienteer in the forest, and she can really take some time out of all the others as long as she doesn't make a mistake. She's an incredibly fast runner through the forest, and all the orienteering just comes very easily to her, although she has to make sure she doesn't run it too fast and goes quicker than her orienteering speed. But back in the forest, this is Andersen. She's making her way to our second TV split. And already knows where she's heading out, and that was a new fastest time by 3.5 minutes, with 29.5 minutes of running so far. And that is looking very good for Andersen, as others have been making mistakes in the forest. But this is Venla Harju coming to split number 1. She will punch his control and then head up the hill, checking her map as we see her going through the forest. This reduced visibility certainly makes the orienteering a lot harder. Running with Lina Strand from Sweden. We follow Venla Harju, who already has a 4th place in the sprint from these World Championships. She also has a bronze in the sprint from Finland when the World Championships were held there, and she is late on the time of Alexandersson, but looking good. This is Andersen, though, into the finish, and she's got over 4 minutes to spare ahead of the current leader, Valinska, and what a great run from Andersen. She's been very clean the whole way around and been able to minimise any mistakes she may have had, gritting her teeth as she goes and makes her way across the line. It's going to be a great new fastest time, and collapses to the floor, 34.44. What a lead over Valinska of 3 minutes and 3/4. And that just shows how you have to push all the way through a middle distance race. You cannot afford to lose any seconds. But back at split number 2, this is Alexandersson. She's caught up Holly Orr from Great Britain and will punch the control, running through it very, very quickly, so she knows exactly where she's going to go to the next control already. And taking a good look at her map to know her way out of this control and to the next one, always planning ahead and making sure you know exactly where you are in the terrain, which is very tricky. It all looks the same out there in the forest. But a new fastest time of nearly 2 minutes for Alexandersson. This is looking like a great run for her. She's just taken so much time out of the others. This is Mironova, though, into split number 1. Our final starter, and she's gone into 4th place. 2 minutes 22 behind and equal with her teammate. So this is the lead that Alexandersson has. And Harju and Andersen looking very, very close together, but Harju has made a mistake into this control number 12, and she's allowed Andersen to get in front of her as these GPS tracks are synchronized. Of course, they're not running together, they are running in a time trial format. But this is Holly Orr just running ahead of Tove Alexandersson, who's coming into the finish. And it's looking like a great time for the Swede, who's already got 3 gold medals at World Championship level. and she's about to make it a fourth. She's going to defend her title for the second time in this competition. She's won the long distance twice already. She's about to win the middle distance for a second time, and the lead is immense. 2 minutes and 22 seconds ahead, and she even has time to high-five her coach and smile her way across the line. She's got a huge lead, and that's 2 minutes and 10 seconds ahead with a time of 32:34. She is very happy with that performance, and so she should be. She did not make any mistakes on a race where so many people have made some big mistakes out in the forest. Not taking the right direction is congratulated by Joe Shepherd, but this is Venla Harju. The Finn is going to be behind Anderson, but she's still got a run to see if she can make it to third place, because there are still athletes behind her who are posting good times, but Harju is able to push all the way down the hill and make her way to the bridge. So she's definitely going to be able to fit into the big gap left between Anderson and Natalia Gempela. And what a great run for the Finn. It'll give the Finns something to cheer about in this World Championships, where they haven't been performing as well so far. And great time for Harju, 36:44.
He is third, 4 minutes and 10 seconds behind Alexander Tom, and exactly 2 minutes behind Marianne Andersen.
2 minutes behind Marianne Andersen from Norway. Should be happy with that. But here's someone who could possibly challenge Harju, although at this split number 2 she is behind, but we know Harju has made a little mistake later on in the course. So Mironova going into fourth place. She is 47 seconds behind Harju, but we know that Harju made a mistake again in the forest. So we will see whether the Russian can catch up. And here's her run to the finish line. It's going to be very close, but she's too late on the bronze, so the bronze goes to Harju from Finland. Mironova gets fourth place ahead of Emily Kemp from Canada.
The first medal for Finland this week here in Estonia. But once again, the
So it will be a bronze for Harju, and these were the routes of the top 4 athletes. Mironova going wide on the path, and the yellow dot of Alexanderson is already ahead of the others, as Mironova is also looking quite fast in the forest, but Anderson takes the direct line to the control number 2 when some of the others are going a bit slower through the terrain, taking slightly longer routes. So Alexanderson straight into control number 4 with absolutely no problems. Some of the others finding that control a bit more difficult, but still got high speed, as Anderson is the trailing of the 4 athletes at this point. Mironova goes wide as Alexanderson stays straight on the line, expertly using her compass to navigate to control number 6. And her lead just keeps growing and growing, as Venla Harju is currently in second place, taking some great route choices and having good speed through the forest. So here is the point where we saw them at TV split number 1, and they ran through the arena, and at this point Alexanderson is already got over a minute lead at this point, and Mironova is looking far behind the times of Harju and Anderson. Harju possibly a little mistake into control 10, and this is where Alexanderson takes a good route to avoid some of the climb, and the others go very straight, possibly losing a bit more time on the course. Harju goes wide, and this is the mistake we saw at control 12 that allowed Anderson to get ahead. So now it is Mironova and Harju who are battling for the bronze medal. Alexanderson is already too far ahead to be caught, and at this point Anderson has had a very, very good run as well, as Alexanderson already makes it to control 15 and running along this slope. Mironova still close by, about 30 seconds behind at this point, as Anderson has got a minute lead over Harju as they go into control 16 and 17, where we saw them on the TV. And at this point, Alexanderson has already finished. Anderson just has a few to go, but there's still a fight on for the bronze, and Mironova almost catches up Harju at control 18, but then it's a bit slower in here to control 19, and Hayu is just able to run a bit quicker at the final end of the course. So these were the final results. Alexanderson took the win for Sweden, Anderson for Norway in second, and Hayu in third for Finland, with Mironova, Kemp and Janssen bringing up the next places on the podium. But these were the 3 medalists from this middle distance here in Estonia.